Now that looks like a classic cold Vermont winter day. But what happens when climate starts to change? I figured we could take a walk down to Church Street and see what some local Vermonters have to say about the changing climate. But first, we're gonna need to find ourselves some winter clothes. Ah! Oh, that's a little better. Let's take a walk to Church Street. Let's go. Now clearly you can see that all around me, snow. And for early December, it's not a bad amount. But what a lot of people don't realize is that climate change doesn't mean no snow. It means a changing in weather patterns. Now what we see quite often with climate change is an increase in the frequency of catastrophic storm systems such as hurricanes and typhoons, something that we've already kind of noticeably seen in the last couple of years or so. So I'm excited to see what the local Vermonters downtown have to say that they've noticed in terms of climate change. We made it to Church Street. Time to go ask some questions on climate change. And now we've arrived at our first destination, the Outdoor Gear Exchange.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's true to say that there are natural fluctuations in climate, but the reality of it, the way I see it, is that we exist as a species within a pretty narrow band of climate conditions, and anything that kicks us out of that is bad news. And it's pretty undeniable at this point when you stack up the evidence that there is an acceleration of change in climate due to the things we're doing on the planet. You can argue how much that is or what specific ways till the cows come home, but at the end of the day, we're definitely having an effect on the planet. We see the effects of climate change in a bunch of different ways. From a sales perspective in retail, we definitely see it. A lot of sales, especially as an outdoor retailer, are really seasonal dependent. So this winter, we've had a lot of snow really early. It's meant our ski sales have been through the roof. We've sold more skis this year. I think we're up 40% from last year, something like that, so it's wild. The year before that, when we had really warm fall, ski sales were way down. So we definitely see fluctuation there. And that's even day to day, like cold days, people will come in and they'll buy way more hats and gloves and hand warmers. So we definitely see a pretty big effect of climate change on the sales we do. We also see it in the amount of people coming in and in the steps that the brands we carry are taking. We're pretty fortunate. We carry a lot of really environmentally conscious brands. And so a lot of companies are working on using more renewable materials, more renewable manufacturing techniques, trying to source things locally, which is really cool to see, and that's definitely a selling point for customers. Especially here in Vermont, a lot of people are pretty dialed into that stuff, If we can show them a product that we have that's made in a more responsible environmental way, they're much more likely to buy that product from a local business than they are to order something online. So having companies that are kind of dialed into that as well is definitely a good thing for our business.
And with that, we're off to our second location. Let's take a walk. As Skylar noted for us, sometimes the climate change is not, an increase in storms or a decrease in snow, but rather a change in when the seasons kind of start and end. Climate change is also creating problems for animal populations, as many of them are forced to leave their natural habitats due to habitat loss or the loss of their food sources. Now approaching our second destination, Ski Rock. There it is.
Definitely, there's nothing to not believe in that. It's real. In terms of like how it affects the seasons, like there are some winters where there'll be very little snow can hugely affect our sales, and it's really hard to determine. A good snow year is good for business. A bad snow year can be very detrimental, and it's impossible to predict. And with all these, one winters are really great, the next one's really bad. All those big drastic changes in the long run definitely affect the outdoor business as a whole, for sure.
Things are probably changing, but it's not really easy to measure in the short term to know what and why and how. Winter seems a little more unpredictable, but I don't know. I would go back to the empirical data to really figure out what's truly happening. Because we're having a great winter right now. I don't know how that factors into global warming though, you know what I mean? Because if it gets too cold, there's no snow. So a little warmer might make more short term. There might be better winters with a little higher temp. And not being 40 below zero, because you can't get snow when it's 40 below zero. I think long term we have troubles, but short term it seems okay.
Coming over on the third location now, North Star Sports, winter gear and apparel. And that's a wrap on North Star Sports. Unfortunately, I didn't have any audio on for my interview. What JP had to offer was basically he's also seen a shift similar to Skylar in kind of when the seasons start and end. He said he thinks it's about a month. He's also said that in the valley he thinks they have significantly less snow than they used to, 10, 20 years ago, while in the mountains it's still fairly consistent. He also spoke to how his industry is losing sales a lot of times because people around the holiday season want to go out, want to go skiing, and as a result, buy a lot of new gear around the holidays. But if they're looking outside and they're not seeing as much snow as they used to, that sentiment to go skiing isn't as high. Time for the next stop on our tour, the Burton store. Approaching our next stop, the Burton store.
The biggest thing I've noticed, I've been an outdoor guide for 15 years outside. Guide all the way through Carabasset, all the way down into Burlington, New Hampshire. So that whole sort of mountain range of the Mahoosics, that's where I used to take this. It's wild. We definitely saw the effect out there like 3 years ago when we didn't even have any snow in January. The territories of deer and moose are starting to merge now based on the food sources, and they can't coexist together, especially in the wintertime. And the moose are getting brainworm from deer, and the moose are dying like crazy. So they've limited
harvesting of those moose in every state. Like, I want to say Vermont would be about 2 permits last year, so it's hugely affected that. Stuff's sporadic, starting early, ending early, starting late, continuing late, deep January thaws, odd storms in April, just sporadic, chaotic stuff more than anything. So consistency has been not there. It affects the resorts more than it does the retailers. When the snow isn't there, people just don't come. Totally dictates their year. Snow's there early, ski in, ski out, people are gonna go, people are gonna buy. We've been adapting our product line to accommodate those changes 10 years ago. So kind of working with those changes has allowed us to stay strong, but totally affecting the outdoor resort industry big time.
All right. Lots more input coming from Craig on how changing climates have really damaged, populations of animals around the area, specifically looking at deer and moose as their habitats are merging and becoming one, but they can't cohabitate. Clearly the effects of climate change are being seen by those around the Burlington area, in Vermont as well as in other places across the country.